Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Stephen Lee, your humble, gracious guide for another transmission of the Black Wall Podcast. I'd like to welcome everyone into the family room, first-time listeners, original founders, all of our past guests, and everybody else who supports the dissemination and facilitation of financial education and investment strategies for the black and brown investor globally. Once again, I want to thank everybody for the support that you've shown over the 3 seasons and 1 year. We're approaching to the day, actually. January 18th was our first, February 18th of 2023 was our first episode. And I started this idea, this thought process of chronicling my experience as a buy and hold natural bear investor in multiple states over the past 10 years, believe it or not. And all the bumps and bruises, and everything that comes with it. I try not to do like infomercial style. I try to make sure that I give a well-rounded, honest depiction, objective, raw, and real depiction of what it's like for me as an investor. Just to catch some people up to speed. Maybe this is your first time listening. Maybe you've been here since day one. Either way, I appreciate you. But I've lived in a certain level of duality my whole life. I'm a Pisces. Shout out to the Pisces. Pisces season is coming up. You guys already know what that means if you know. But I've always found myself having a certain level of duality. I can see things black or white, but not gray, if that makes any sense to you. That's me. That's my own personal issue. But in the terms of business, how that's always helped me is that I've been able, I've been able to be flexible on what I have thought the right way to do something or the best way to do something or what something means. I've never been the type of person who has been stuck on that if I was shown differently. Keyword being shown differently. But that also works in a bad way too, because if you're shown the wrong thing and you see it work, you're going to continue and facilitate and do that. So as adults, I'm 41 years old. And when you get to this stage of your life, hopefully, you can start to look at some of your decisions and some of the things that you've done, not from a lens of, I regret, wish I hadn't done, but you definitely embody and embrace the terms, when you lose, don't lose the lesson. And so with this podcast, as my life has changed, so has the direction and dynamic of the podcast. The change that you experience when you start to invest, right? And when you start to stretch the boundaries of what you think you can do monetarily independently, right? Because any investment you make at the end of the day, whether you made a quarter, like literally a quarter, 25 cents, or a 25 piece, 25 thou wow, it was your idea and it was your ability to trust in that idea that made that happen, with a whole bunch of other factors, but none of those other factors come to play unless you actually do it. So today's topic, once again, we've stepped up our game here, and we always try to do that. We try to do something, a little tweak throughout the season, little tweak at the end of the season going into the next season, to improve it, just to improve the podcast, to improve the flow, to get to know the audience, to get to know the flow of the whole thing. That's really important. I think it's important to me. It's important to me because it's part of the habit of growth. It's part of the habit of life. The things that you do when no one's looking tend to be the things you do when everyone is looking, especially under pressure. So, today's topic out of the lovely black fishbowl is I'm reformed, right? Don't forget it. What does that mean to you? I'll tell you what it means to me. When I walk around this world of finance and investments, I'm realizing that a lot of people just think I'm bullshit. Let's just cut to it. You know, you guys know how this goes. If you've listened to any forms of the Blackwall media, you know at some point we're going to just cut right to it. This is that point. They think I'm bullshit. If you're anything like me, they probably think you're full of shit. For no reason other than your past failures and the fact that you don't wallow in those failures and you don't let those failures stop you from trying. See, there's a fine line between delusion and success. I'm very aware of that. There's no, I don't think there's any argument in that. Where I guess the line happens or the switch happens is when you are able to be oh, God. Excuse me, y'all. But, we're going to keep it rolling. When you're able to be flexible enough to understand and truly internalize the fact that your original idea and the original way you got into this and your original vein of success is not guaranteed to be your savior throughout the whole thing, the whole mission. I'm learning that. I'm learning in this past year of being truly just a full-time investor, I've learned so many different things. It's 10 years in. I've learned more things probably in the past 6 to 9 months than I probably learned in the previous 5 years as far as the business end of investing. I understood the nuts and bolts, right? I understood, hey, let's get some money. Let's put it somewhere where it could truly grow, not flip, but it could grow. It could have a safe haven. I posted something on my IG story today that was about the idea that your money can't be stagnant, right? Everyone talks about your mental health, and that I guess it's not that big of a hot button issue now that we're all off of lockdown. It seems like there's a lot less crazy people, I guess, running around. Maybe yes, maybe no. Up for debate. But what's not up for debate is that money has a pulse, and it needs to be nourished, needs to be flourished and watered, and it's changing, right? The way that banking and the way that finance was and how it moves and where capital moves and how difficult it becomes, it's going to change throughout your whole investment career. For example, there's a deal I'm working on right now, and it goes directly to the topic. I started with the lowest of the low when it comes to real estate asset classes. I started in vacant properties in the worst neighborhoods in the city. What we call here in Atlanta in the street culture, bandos. I've realized that term bando is actually not a well-known term. It's very localized, so I add context. The way that I went about it was so niche, meaning I was looking for anything under $10,000. I was looking for it regardless of condition. If there was some sliver of light that it could be renovated, I was in it. this was towards the middle of my call it slumming career. The beginning, I didn't care whether it could ever be rehabbed. I bought a house with a tree through the middle of it, literally through the middle of it. Split the house directly in half. But I saw the value in these things. I saw the value in these things because I remember myself being broken like that. How about we take it there? You know, people don't understand when you're buying houses and you're buying companies and you're investing in companies and you're investing in startups. This is something that in a lot of ways you're investing in it because you see something of yourself in it. Does that make sense? Most times, I'm not saying every time, but there's got to be something in it for me that I see a thread that's akin to me, right? A founder has a good idea, working hard, is relentless, and maybe hasn't gotten some of the opportunities and shots that their counterparts have gotten for whatever biases that people feel about them. Sexual orientation, appearance, gender, where they're from, zip code, accent. There's all types of factors that people get discriminated against for, especially in corporate America and in finance, in getting funding, right? This is a well-known fact. So I do tend to see value in areas like that. You know, I think that something being reformed, I think you have to experience that reformative process in order to really understand what value add means. All right. These terms are things that they throw around a lot, like what's value add on the property, or what's the, loan to value ratio, or what's the after repair value, and all these, cool little 3-letter acronyms that we've come up with to describe real processes. If you take a project, a renovation, a real estate project, anything, it was not even a renovation, just to get to close, right? That process will reform you. It just will. One way or another. I'm not saying all reform is good. I'm saying that it will reform you. It will change you. For me, I've never found the comfort in my later years of staying the same, right? So as I go through this journey, I'm looking for something that's not necessarily more challenging just to be challenging, but I'm looking to see how good I really am, right? I think self-challenging and self-competition is important. I think it's undervalued, actually. I think that if you're constantly looking over for inspiration or to get motivated, what's my neighbor doing, what's the next person doing, you're missing out. You're missing out on your true potential. I've never seen someone win a close race by looking side to side on what's the next person doing. No, they're looking straight ahead and they're running as hard as they can. I'm trying to break into the global investment market, but the way I'm able to do that is I have to generate more capital and more motion in my current business. This is what I currently do, is I have, I'd say, the solid infrastructure to have a great real estate portfolio. Obviously, I'm still working. I'm still renovating. I'm still adding value to units. I'm still putting units online. But my crazy acquisition days of building up the unit count, I think that initial stage of it is over. I'm sure I'll have more spurts. But the spurt I'm at right now is I'm really trying to land my first true commercial property deal, right? Not commercial in the sense of more than 4 units. I'm talking about commercial as far as my tenants would be a business. And it's really hard. It's hard because I'm seeing areas and I'm getting to obstacles and hurdles that the old me, right, would have reverted to anger and trying to force, almost like bully my way into things or bully my way through a situation. And in matters of business, that very rarely works. You're not going to scare somebody. This isn't, mafioso 1960. You're not going to scare somebody into doing what you want. Look at Suge Knight. He's locked up right now for doing it. Over years and years and years, people held grudges, piss off the wrong people. Then you get into a situation where, hey, it's a coin toss, right? But you have no more benefit of the doubt. That happens in business as much as it does in real life. So now I'm realizing there's people that I ran across in business when I first started, when I was still so street, right? I think about the way that I handled adversity when I first came into real estate as opposed to now. Now I'm more likely to take a nap, not say anything, and try to think my way out of it, as opposed to getting on the phone and I'm going to curse this motherfucker out and they going to know who I am and ain't nobody going to play with me. And that, I guess it serves its purpose, obviously. But it's not going to work moving forward. It's no longer beneficial. I know that. I can feel it. But that reformative process that I've gone through in my life, in my investment career, in the way that I look at money, the way that I've tried to decouple, once again, tried to decouple my ego from my business. I think that process stays with you. Does that make sense? Like, and I keep thinking about this topic. I keep thinking about it from the point of, where people be like, oh, I'm saved, but I'm not that saved, or I'm not that far from being reformed. Or I actually think just even if you're on the other side of it for a second, that's the win. Even if you totter back and forth between, especially this New Year's, there's so many different promises you make to yourself that maybe you fall short. But if you did some of it, I think we need to start building from that place, building from the place of, okay, last year maybe you didn't get the house you wanted or you didn't buy your first house, but what did you do to move closer to it? And what do we need to do to agitate and re-bring some energy into making that a priority again? Right? That's what I've had to do. Right? This commercial deal fell apart for no fault of my own. And the only thing I can think of on my own is that maybe if I would have had a little bit more honey in my mix, I would have found out that these people were bullshit quicker. But I don't think it would have changed the fact that these people are full of shit. And I'm going to say it. This is why I have this podcast. TM Funding. Full of shit. That's it. That's all I have to say. If you run across a guy named Jake in TM Funding or anyone from TM Funding, my personal opinion from my own personal experience, stay the fuck away from them. Yeah. Other people have reviews on them. I'm going to be leaving reviews. But this is why I have this space, is to explain to you guys. You can have identified a great asset, got title work done, be able to cross collateralize. You're doing everything right. And if you have one weak link in your team, the deal could follow through. It just fall apart, completely fall apart. Shout out to the seller. I appreciate you sticking with me. We're working on it. We're going a different direction. Hopefully, Jeff Daniels can come through. And I'm saying his name because I want to give him credit because he's a brother out of Atlanta who does mortgage stuff and other lending products. And he is steadfast. He's one of those people who it's not getting too high, not getting too low. He might not, he might scare you with how calm he is about it. Does that make sense? Where you're all agitated, like I need, and he's he's even killed. And I'm learning to appreciate that more. So he stepped in and is working on it. And hopefully he's actually going to be a guest and we'll be able to talk about this whole experience. But I say this to say is that the reform comes in even in the middle of the deal. I said, okay, this lender's bad apples, right? Once again, Jake, TM Funding, you fucked up, buddy. Then I call the other office, and they try to play the 3-card Monte game with me and get rude and get loud. And so I'm on the receiving end of somebody try to bully you through the corporate world. And I'm just like, whoa, why y'all talking to me like that? Like this, I'm trying to talk to you as as an adult, trying to figure out what's going on. I'm not getting emails answered. Whoop de whoop. You know what? Fuck it. Call American Express. Call American Express because this is obviously fraudulent or something's wrong. I need to make a complaint because I don't want other people going through this. That's what I did. Old me. Oh, I don't know. These motherfuckers are definitely going to call me. I left all types of messages. I would have this. I would have called from another number. I would have. What? No. I'm not handling it like old me. You can't make me revert back to that in matters of business. Other ways, my personal life, maybe I'm not so disciplined. That's my own struggles. But in this, I have the right and I have the track record to be able to be more disciplined. I want to see the growth in myself. Fuck everybody else. So in these moments, you go, oh, wait, I've learned different skills. So when you say, I'm reformed, don't forget it, that's an internal conversation more than anything. There's no pride in not changing. There's no pride in not adapting. So I reached out, I said, okay, let's just start this whole process over. Let's reform the deal. Let's reform the team. Switch this guy, Jake, out. Put Jeff in. Get some new blood in here. Get some new eyes on it. Send the file to him again. Tell him what you're working with. This is the tenant I have lined up. Let him go in here, improve why he's an alliance and he's a person that we want to work with moving forward as we're going into the commercial space, right? Because anyway you cut it, when I have 2 new builds I want to do this year. I need a commercial lender that I can lean on for ground up construction, for office buildings, for all types of those type of projects, not the normal 1 to 4 family, residential project. Those lenders and those agents are so thirsty because the market's so tight right now. That's if you're in the game and you have assets and you have a network right now, single family is a very competitive market, but you have a leg up if you've built the infrastructure. That's another thing. Shout out to all the people who are still in real estate right now. Shout out to all the people still in trucking, because these markets were flooded during the PPP era, I call it, right? Everybody was online making it look good. Everybody ran to it. Now these markets have tightened up. And the moonlighters, the newbies, the people who aren't really in the industry for anything other than the quick hustle, all these people with box trucks on Marketplace trying to sell them now. These are the things that show who's really about what. And so shout out to the people who are sticking with their move, even when their move gets tough. I seen a brother, I don't remember his name off top, but I'm actually going to reach out to him. And I believe he's out of Massachusetts. Shout out Tony G. And he was talking about wholesaling. He was being honest. He's telling his experience 5 years of wholesaling. He said, first year was rough. Second year, he, got a couple dealers. Third and fourth year, he was cracking. Last year, he didn't do well. And he was being honest about, you're going to have your ebbs and flows. He went and got his real estate license so he can, branch out and actually, get commissions for being the agent. But he was talking about now he wants to really build his real estate portfolio. You know, and he's talking about how when those checks were coming in as a wholesaler, you're constantly paying bills. You're constantly like on a hamster wheel. And I remember that. It's very difficult to start. There's years of me to think about it. The man said the first year he didn't have any deals. He said he was reading and learning and keeping himself, motivated. A lot of this is keeping yourself ready. No one's going to keep you fucking ready. No one's going to tell you, oh, great job. You're doing such a great job fucking around for 6 months. There's nothing coming from it. I had to tell somebody, finances and going independent is like turning a oil tanker. It's not like turning a jet ski. Does that make sense what I'm saying? An oil tanker, it takes an hour sometimes to turn. Right? And they got a little joystick. But really think about that. You don't see yourself turn around in an oil tanker as you're turning. It seems so slow. It seems so whatever. You can go get a cup of coffee a couple times and it still hasn't turned. But then when you finally realize, oh shit, we're looking the other direction. We're looking towards land now. But that turning process took a while. It's not like a jet ski. Oh, as long as you're going, we could just woo and we turn. No. Be careful of that thinking, right? Because no one's forcing you to be an investor. No one's like forcing you to think about wealth building. Really, no one's like, oh, you have to do this or else. No, this is an elective sport. It's full contact, but it's elective. I think that sometimes there's too much looking out. Sometimes we need to look a little bit inward onto why are we in this fight? Your reasons are your reasons. I lay mine out publicly because that's what I do, right? But when we start to pigeon-toe ourselves into, or pigeonholed, which one is it? I've never really knew that one, but I'll just say the one I said. Into, this is how I do it type thinking. No. You can create a style. This is my style. Okay, cool. But your style needs to be flexible and needs to be applied to new skills. You can bring your style to a new skill, goddammit. But if you don't know something, how are you bringing your style to something you're learning? You learn the basics, then you bring your style to it, right? So right now, I'm really trying to crack into this commercial market. And I'm seeing the areas where my reform, if it hasn't happened already, it needs to happen right now, like quickly. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow for someone who's seen some measure of success doing it their way, right? It's like, well, fuck, I've been successful doing it my way. Why would I change all of a sudden? Well, look at the evidence. The evidence says that if you didn't change in the beginning, and I'll speak for me, if I didn't change in the beginning, I wouldn't be here right now. So obviously the need for change is real. The need for change is real across all spectrums and walks of life. Mother Earth changes multiple times a year. It's called seasons. So, I mean, we got to at least think that that's going to be our bare minimum. I switched it up. I really did. I switched it up. And then I even have another venture that I'm working on. And that's the thing. People are saying, oh, man, you got so much going on. This is my job. This is my job. Just like when you go to work, if you have a busy week or a busy day or whatever, and you're stressed out and you don't feel like doing it, you don't get to just quit. It's the same thing here. Same exact thing. And I talk about it. It's when there's no sympathy for winners is one episode, number one. I'm thinking of all the different episodes you can jump back to and refer to some of the gems that have been dropped. Because this is real shit. Drug dealer math, another one. That's another example of not letting yourself reform, not switching up. It's penitentiary full of people that wish they would have switched it up. And I don't mean reform as far as, oh, you know, I've done better. No. Maybe you needed to take that summer off and really work on that car wash. Maybe that's what you needed to be free for another 10 summers. We'll never know now. See, that's the thing. We don't give ourselves enough credit for the little changes that we made to get to this spot. If you can make that little change, hey, if you were somebody who used to eat out 4 times a week and you're trying to save up some money and now you only eat out 2, you can tighten it up a little more then. You could tighten it up in another area. There's another area in your life where you could say, you know what, I'm going to cut that in half. For real. If you did in one area, you can do it at all. It's not just the other way. That's my point. It's not just the, once a cheater, always a cheater, or, once I got burnt in this deal, I'm never doing this again, or, I'm always that motherfucker say what I want to say. Can't nobody tell me nothing. No. That's not the answer. That can't be the answer. When you're alone, you can't sit there and be okay with that. I just don't believe it. I think it's your bravado. I think it's your ego. I think it's your insecurity. I think it's your everything that makes you stand on that square so goddamn hard. Because it's not giving you actual dividends. It's not. There's nobody that it's paying off for. Maybe in the short term when everyone's got to kiss your ass because they want something from you. But the minute you can't, you need something, the tides are going to be reversed. They're going to enjoy putting their foot on your neck. You don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to be in the situation where people are incentivized to make it harder for you. That's what I did not like about that whole lender fiasco I just went through. Even if you did feel offended, or even if you didn't like my style of business or whatever, if you're making money from something, you should be incentivized to help me, especially if that's your job. Especially if there's, it makes it seem like you rather not do your job to block my blessing. That's some hating ass shit. And we all know how that works. Haters ain't never going to be rewarded in the world that God created. No, that's not how this works. Maybe in the short term, a broke clock is right twice a day, boys and girls. Okay? So I'm cool with that. But the other times during the day is wrong as 2 left shoes on a donkey, and that's how we're going to keep it. I just want to be able to express that we should be out here looking for the opportunity to reform and change. Right? We should be looking for it. And I'm not talking about, because I know people that know me are going to say, you're always looking for the new thing. You always, have shiny thing syndrome. I'm not talking about that. Let this conversation evolve, people. What I'm saying is that even when you have a great system, even when you have the way it works for you, once that's stabilized, it's okay to look around and then go, okay, how can I have this spinoff to be even more efficient, to bring out, to maybe even lessen its burden and load, so it doesn't have to work at full capacity all the time? Is there something I can do to branch out and spring it out where I could partner with somebody and maybe double my book of business, but not necessarily see 100% of the profits? But in the long term, I'll make more money, right? there is an opportunity when you get to a success point to look around and soak it in and say, okay, what's the longevity play now? Because the rocket ascension, when we start and when we got the go and everything, we got the new idea and yes, it's just, that's going to fucking fade. What are we going to do to reinvigorate ourselves, switch it up, move it around and push? That's what I really, really want to make sure that we're pushing and we're giving ourselves the freedom and the space to be able to take that small victory, that small reform that you made, and parlay that into getting through the next hurdle. Because there's constantly going to be hurdles in this investment game, right? If it was as easy as you point everybody in the direction and everybody's going to do their job and then you're just going to sign your name on the dotted line and then magically the tenants are going to come in and then no problems, everyone's going to pay their rent on time, no one's going to fuck the house up, everybody would do it. Everybody would fucking do it. But everything I just listed to you will happen. All the wrong things. I swear it will. The question is how do you insulate yourself? How do you learn from it? And how do you put in systems, hopefully, to protect yourself from it happening again? And then how do you make it so that you structures the deal, make sure you purchase correctly so that you're making enough money where those inconveniences and headaches and things through tax law, through cash flow, through appreciation, through all this stuff are worth it. But if you don't know half the game, you can't judge whether it's worth it. If you don't know the benefits and taxes because of owning real estate, if you don't understand depreciation schedule and deferred maintenance and all this other stuff, if you don't understand equity and how to use equity in your real life, if you don't have relationships with real estate agents and contractors and plumbers and maintenance people and this and that, you don't know the whole game. So to go, oh, that's too much for me. Okay. That's like saying, oh, that going to school thing is too much. You know, like then maybe you don't want to be a doctor. Maybe you don't want to be an engineer. If that's too much for you, then those are not the things for you. Right. I think somebody said, I was listening to some podcast or whatever. I don't really remember. But it really hit me. They called, no, I was watching the news. And they said the worker consumer class. I said, ooh. I said, wow. Think about that. They lump those two together, the worker consumer class. They were talking about how to make that class of people not feel the effects of inflation in food prices and other things. How to mitigate that. Even though it's not coming down. You're not the prices at the grocery store are never coming down again. Right? We're never going to see below we'll never see below 275, 280 of gasoline. Never again. 23 years ago, gas was $1 a gallon. Yeah, I remember that. 2000, Atlanta, Georgia, gas was 99 cents a gallon in Smyrna, Georgia. That's a fact. So over 20 years, that's 300% inflation. Yes, from $1 to $3. That's you go ahead and break that up in some variation across all sectors of your life. Housing, energy, education, food, entertainment, the whole thing. 200 to 300% across the board. So now, if you're not benefiting in some sector of your life from that, then I guess they're right. You are. You're the consumer worker class. It just hurt my feelings when I heard it. I'm not going to lie. It hurt my feelings when I heard it because I said, damn. So just juxtaposition, just naturally, you have to say, if they're that, then that means that there has to be another class of people who are the owner producer class or the employer producer class, I guess, right? Because if what's the opposite of a consumer? It's a producer. What's the opposite of a worker? An employer. There has to be, right? I mean, that's just natural. There's always going to be the yin and the yang, the juxtaposition. I said, damn. I guess the question is who you want to be. Do you want to be the worker consumer? Or do you want to be the employer producer? Very simple questions here, boys and girls. That's up to you, though. That's up to you. I know what I want to do. I want to stay dangerous. Have a great day.
This is your invitation to the intersection of versatility and design. Experience the empowering feeling of the Lexus SUVs and some of the best offers of the year on select models at the Invitation to Lexus sales event, now through April 1st.
Get $750 cash towards the lease of a 2024 NX350 all-wheel drive.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Call 1-800-USA-LEXUS for important lease cash offer and pricing details. Restrictions apply. Not all customers will qualify. Offer available in the Lexus Eastern area and it's April 1st, 2024.